Hi, it's Wednesday, the 20th of September. We are back at my desk because I had everything set up from yesterday and I thought I would just use it again today. And I also have been sitting on my bed all day today working instead of at my desk. So I didn't actually clear it. And I was planning to do this a little earlier this morning. It's actually like 2 o'clock now and I'm just about to go to work in about an hour. But I really wanted to do some personal development work before I did this. And actually, I was originally going to film this at about 7:30 a.m. But I was so hungry that I didn't think I'd be able to concentrate just from after the gym. So I had breakfast and then I kind of decided to get into my reading and personal development stuff. And that's actually what I really want to talk about today. About what I've been learning. It's stuff that I haven't shared before and I've been like really I feel a lot of shame around it, so I haven't shared it. So I'm going to be talking about that today. I'm also going to be trying to talk not quickly but more normally than I usually do when I'm applying makeup, just because I would love to put these on a podcast as well, because I've been getting so many emails and comments from you guys saying that you want me to make a podcast, and I definitely want to make a podcast. As you all know, I'm obsessed. But I want to put these as podcasts. Ideally, I'd like to put day 1 to 7 all together, joint, and cut out any bits that sort of don't really make sense in podcasts. But when I was editing together day 1 to 7 just before, I talk so slowly. And, I'm being kind to myself and I'm still learning this. So I'm not beating myself up about it, but I would like to talk more normally as if I was doing a podcast. What I need, sunscreen. So I'm going to be trying to not that I was trying to speak slowly before, but I'm just going to be being a bit more conscious about that. So just putting my sunscreen on. I don't know why I'm wearing a jumper today actually, because it's boiling and that's why I look very flushed. But it's kind of like comfy, and I was curled up on bed this morning, or for most of the day actually, from like about 8 o'clock until midday, doing Brooke Castillo's course or online program, or I'll be talking about what I was working on this morning. But I just kind of wanted to be cozied up in bed, except it's not really the right not really the right weather. So I had my fans going and everything so I could wear a jumper. I'm still figuring out how to use moisturizer and sunscreen and primer together. I'm not sure if I've got the right combos of everything, but yeah, I'm just sort of testing it out. Also, I have my eyebrows on and my winged eyeliner. I've been missing wearing winged eyeliner and my eyebrows have been frustrating me, so I put them on just before. Otherwise, it's like me staring for 20 minutes into the mirror with my mouth up against my phone. So until I figure out how to do it better, which I guess is just from practice, which is what I've just avoided. But anyway, so what I was learning, or what I'm doing, I mentioned it yesterday, but just for some context, Brooke Castillo, who you guys know I talk about all the time, is a life coach, and she coaches coaches as well. And I discovered her podcast, The Life Coach School, probably about 2 years ago now. Ever since, it's basically all I talk about with anyone who's also interested in that kind of stuff. I talk about Brooke as if she's my friend, and I have obsessively followed all her stuff for years. I've listened, she has, I think now about 180 podcast episodes at the time I'm saying this, but I listened to 1 through to whatever number there was available, and then back to 1 and through again. So I've listened to it multiple times. I'm obsessed with just the way that she teaches, that she's very kind and compassionate, but also very direct, and really calls people out on their bullshit, but in a very kind and compassionate way and not a judgmental way. And just the way she explains thoughts creating feelings, which create actions, which creates results. She was the one who introduced me to that, even though it was in so many different personal development things. She was really the one that spelled it out to me. I feel like I'm sitting funny. The lighting's a bit weird at this time of day, but just gotta work with it. Okay. Yes, I got everything on. So I decided the other day to enroll in her course. As I mentioned yesterday, I hadn't been thinking about it until the day before yesterday, but it had always been in the back of my mind since I heard about it when she first launched it. She mentions it in a lot of her podcast episodes, but I'd never really thought that I would invest in it. It is $297 US per month, which is about 360 Australian per month at the current exchange rate, 364 to be exact. And I just thought it was, well, I wouldn't say I couldn't afford it, but it wasn't a priority for me, even though now I wish I'd just signed up then. Anyway, hindsight is always 2020, but so I hadn't been thinking about it directly, and then I signed up just because I'm doing this year of personal growth. And it's so funny what I realized yesterday, like I was a little bit resistant. Like, this is all happening in a very short amount of time. Like, I thought about it, and then a few hours after that I was feeling resistant to signing up. And then, like, I didn't sign up then because I didn't have my business card, my business debit card with me. But when I went home, I signed up. But in that short amount of time, I was feeling hesitant because it's just like, and I only have realized this really today, that I like share a lot about having self-doubt and not knowing what to do, and I love that you guys tell me that I'm so relatable, and I'm so glad you can relate to me, because the reason I started this blog was because I couldn't find anyone that I could relate to. And it's like, I'm worried that I'll fix myself / grow as a person and I won't be relatable anymore because I just have my shit sorted. And I know that might sound so ridiculous, and even just saying that, like, obviously I can always be relatable, and just by the way that I speak about things, and also it's a long path to getting your shit sorted and takes a lot of thought work and growth and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that I've like created this identity and almost like a brand around myself as someone with a lot of self-doubt and insecurity, and I'm almost like scared to not be like that because that's what you guys tell me you relate to. Not that you wouldn't relate to me if I had my shit sorted and it'd just be like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I realized that was silly, so I signed up. So what I want to talk about today is the money mindset class thing that I'm doing. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm not going to be like going through the course material or anything like that. If you'd like to join it, I'll leave a link below. But I am going to be sharing what I'm learning about myself and my experiences, and what my personal growth. So I decided to do the money one first. So I'll just explain in the program, what she does is she has a monthly topic that everyone's focused on at the same time, and she sends out workbooks, except not to Australia, only to people in the US. So I won't actually get a physical workbook, but they're available online. Workbooks to work on each day throughout the month, all focused around, I think this month, so I signed up for October, so I haven't got access to it yet, but I think it was going to be like organizing your life, which sounds amazing to me. And there's workbooks, and there's also guides to help you apply everything that's available in the free podcasts. And there's all these other little mini courses in it. So there's one on entrepreneurship, one on money, overeating, over drinking. Can't remember the others. There are a few others. Or how to feel better, I think. So yeah. So I decided to do the one on money. I'm obviously extremely interested in the one on entrepreneurship and also the one on overeating. Not that I have weight to lose, but because as I have talked about in previous, vlogs, I have been feeling like I'm emotionally eating against my own will. And today, even as I've been working on the money stuff, I've kind of realized that that is definitely what I've been doing, and trying to avoid feeling certain feelings, I think around, I haven't pinpointed exactly what they are yet. Anyway, so I decided to start with money. And if you've followed my blog for a while, you might have noticed that I used to always talk about money. I've always been obsessed with financial stuff. Like, I have a finance degree as well. But I've always been fascinated by money, and I used to write a lot about money. And then about a year and a half ago, I stopped writing about money. And what happened at that time was, I've just spilled powder all over my black work pants. But anyway, what happened was I went on a massive trip. So I saved up lots of money for that trip. But it was a very expensive trip. So I went to Peru for 2 weeks with, what was it even called? Trek Towards a Cure. Peru 2015, which was for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. My mum died of breast cancer, so it's a cause that's very close to my heart. I went to do that in Peru for 2 weeks. I think that cost like $7,000 or something. It was quite expensive, and I had to raise $4,000, which I can't remember exactly how much it cost. I think it was around $7,000. Then I came home for 3 days and went to Europe for 7 weeks. Traveled all around Europe. We just did like plan as you go traveling, which was super fun. And then went to New York for a week at the end of that. It was all the Peru, Europe, New York thing was planned ahead of time, but we didn't know where we were going to go in Europe. We just went with the flow, which was really fun. But like, I'd paid for all the flights and everything like that before we left. But because I wasn't sure how much money I would need, and I didn't want to find myself overseas in a situation where I didn't have access to money, I increased my credit card limit from $500, which is what I'd always kept it at, because I never wanted, like, I just never wanted it to make me feel like I had more money than I actually had. And $500 was enough that it wasn't like, you can't really go crazy with $500. But so I had my limit increased to $4,000, which in the scheme of personal loans and credit cards isn't that much. But to me, it felt like a lot. And what happened was, having that money, I made it, like, seeing that money, that balance in my bank account from the credit card, I kind of made it mean that I could spend more money than I had, that I didn't need to be as cautious with my spending. And I also had the belief that I didn't want to waste the experience. I wanted to make the most of it. What ended up happening was that I really overspent in Europe, and I was really ashamed. Like, I didn't want to be the whingy, stingy person, and being judged for not having enough money. And then I also didn't want to feel like I was missing out on an experience or anything like that. So I ended up spending basically all of it, and had to ask Steve, which I hated doing, for another $1,000 to tide me over, which I paid him back as soon as I got home and was getting paid again. I took leave without pay for 10 weeks. So I didn't have any money coming in until I got home and got back to work. And I've just been like so ashamed of that, and just that I overspent, especially because I overspent, and like a lot of those things, like, it wasn't like I was going to be missing out on much. It was like I went crazy and bought heaps of makeup in New York and just things like that, that it wasn't like, you know, I had to sit in my room all day because I didn't have any money. It was like just all these extra things that I didn't really need and didn't really add that much to my experience. But I just like let it get away from me. Then when I came back, I basically had no money. Luckily, I had my job to come back to, and I was getting paid again. But I put money towards my card as much as I could at the beginning. But then once I got to having like about $2,000 paid off it, so I was owing $2,000, I just like let it go again and kept overspending, and I just felt like so ashamed. Like I didn't want to say to anyone. I really haven't told anyone this, but I really want to be honest with my personal growth stuff and with this whole vlog, and it's the whole point, and it's something I'm working on, and I know I'm not the only one who's ever done it. And so for like a year, I kind of let it get away from me. I was like, when I was looking at it today, doing the mental work around it, I realized it's basically fear of judgment, which is perfectionism. But just being scared of being seen as someone who's whingy, and also being seen as someone who's bad with money, especially as I was talking about it so much in my blog. I was only talking about my experiences, and everything I've ever said about money is true, like everything I've done. But I didn't really know how to talk about it, and I was really ashamed, and yeah, so I just didn't talk about it until recently, because I got back on top of it earlier this year. I think it was around April. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, why have I not gotten on top of this yet? Like, sure, I can justify it and say I was putting money towards my business, which I was, and other things like that. But there's definitely like that money that I wasted on things I can't even remember now, that I didn't put towards that card. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. I hate feeling like this. So I took my card out of my wallet, because what I was doing all the time was that I would, pay for things on my credit card, and then I would always just keep topping up my credit card. And so I'd never get ahead, because I wasn't ever prioritizing savings, and I was spending what was left over, which intellectually I know you don't save the leftovers, you save first. But I was just like not in a good like mindset around money. Also, I washed my hair this morning. This is what it looks like when I haven't brushed it. I haven't done anything. I just let it dry naturally. It gets this weird kink on this side. It's very thin, like, because I didn't put the thickener in it, but so I just felt like having naturally dried hair today. So I feel like I don't need blush because I'm red all over, but too late. So yeah, I was just really embarrassed and ashamed, and I didn't want to tell anyone, and I didn't want to admit to anyone that I was struggling with it. So I felt like I needed to like keep my lifestyle up. So I kept spending money that I didn't have, and like it was never that bad in the whole scheme of things. And I know people have a lot more debt, and here like I've got 75 grand in HEX debt, which is our uni debt. But because you don't pay that back, it's a bit different to the US and other places. We only pay it back once we earn over once we earn over a certain threshold. So it's kind of different in that sense. But yeah, I don't have anything owing at all now on my credit card, and I'm just using my debit card, and I have how much I have in savings? Maybe like 5 grand. Most of that is I got a really good tax return, like about 3,000. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment, is just getting my money mindset back in the right place. And it was so interesting to me, because I was like, oh, I'm going to intellectually know a lot of the things she's going to say. But because I've paid for this, I'm like making such an effort to really apply it and do the work. And so I literally spent hours today going through it. Every single written exercise that she suggested, I did. It took hours, but I was really enjoying doing it, and it felt like I was studying again, which I love studying, but it's the first time I've really been studying something that I'm so interested in. So I'm really excited about it, but I just realized that even though I intellectually know like there's enough money for everyone, like rich people aren't evil, all of that, I have currently a lot of shame around money, around not having enough money, around being scared my money will run out. I have just come from working in the insolvency industry, where there's never enough money. It's so rare where there's a situation where it's like, oh, there's heaps of money. So there was a lot of scarcity from that. From my childhood as well, I definitely grew up in a privileged situation, but I've just like looking at all the different things that like, it's never really about the circumstance, it's about how we interpret it. And the way I have interpreted it throughout my life is in a sort of lacking scarcity way. So even though intellectually I know all of the thoughts I need to have to be like thinking abundantly and all of that kind of thing, I'm not having them. I'm having these other thoughts that I hadn't realized I had. And this is what I often talk about, the difference between knowing something intellectually and your beliefs, because your beliefs create your feelings, which create your actions and your results. The intellectual thoughts you have don't really do much. You might be able to use them for a little while, but often you just revert to what your beliefs are getting you to do. So you really need to change your beliefs. If you want more on that, I'll talk about it probably at another time as well. It's mainly through repetition and like gradually changing the belief. But Brooke's podcast, like that's where I learned all about that from. So yeah, I could even feel myself today like resisting filming this because I was like, I really want to talk about it, but I feel really embarrassed to say that I was just shit with money and I didn't take responsibility for my situation. I was living beyond my means and I didn't tell anyone because I just felt really ashamed and stressed about it. And I guess it's like fear of judgment, and I don't want to appear to be someone who hasn't got their shit together, even though like the whole point of this is for me to be vulnerable and to share what I'm actually working on, and I know that's so valuable. And intellectually I know others aren't judging me, that a lot of other people have similar experiences, and that that's how you create connection with people and real relationships and all of that. But my belief is still that I don't want others to judge me or criticize me or think anything negative of me. And yeah, intellectually I know that's doesn't matter, but it's still like these are the beliefs I'm working on changing. So I'm still doing my coaching every week with Kit in person, and this is just really to supplement that because we only chat for an hour every week, and he really helps with keeping me accountable and keeping me moving forward. And I'm planning tomorrow to talk to him about this money stuff that I've kind of realized today, because yeah, Brooke was just talking about being open to receiving, and I was like, oh, I'm not open to receiving at the moment. Like I'm like, no, like and like I'm really scared of looking like I'm a sellout. And like I have quite a decent audience size now, but I'm still like not getting paid for all the value that I'm bringing just because I'm scared of looking like a sellout. And I think I've wrongly associated in my mind like making money and people giving me money as like me selling out, even though if I'm recommending something that I'd recommend for free and that I honestly love and use, and I've never recommended anything, like I haven't worked with any brands because all the emails I get, I'm like, I'm just not interested. Like I only want to talk about things I actually love. And that's really important to me, but I kind of realized today it's also a lot about fear of judgment and just not wanting to appear to be like a sellout, even though I know that like a lot of you guys probably want to give me money for the value that I've added to your lives. And like for me, I like giving money to the people that like to give money to Brooke. I love being able to do that, and I just have to be open to receiving it. But anyway, I'm working on all of this at the moment. It's still one of those things where I'm sort of like working through it and haven't, like I'm in the middle of it, which is what I'm sharing in these. And so I haven't had an aha moment. I haven't like actually resolved it, but I'm doing the work. And today I had plans to do other blogging stuff, and only to do that Brooke self-coaching scholars stuff for an hour when I was doing it, I was like, this is so important. And it's like easy to do busy work that I feel like, not that I'm doing that much busy work anymore because I've sort of got that under wraps. But I was like, this is equally as important. Like, to grow my business, I need to have the right money mindset. And if I'm not open to receiving, and if I'm, just limiting what I can earn from the way I'm thinking, then spending 4 hours today doing that is so much more valuable to me than like spending a few hours doing Instagram or YouTube or whatever. So it's obviously a balancing act, and I have to figure out how much time to spend on what. But I really I'm doing this 365 days of personal growth because I really want to work on my personal growth. It's a priority. I go to the gym every day for my physical health, so I want to do stuff for my mental health and my mindset every day. So I know for a lot of you, you won't have, well, actually, I'm not going to say that because you do have the time. It's whether or not what you choose to use it on. So I just think it's really interesting with a lot of people, and I've been guilty of it myself, being like, I don't have time to read, I don't have time to do a personal development course, but yet we have time for Netflix, and we have time to scroll mindlessly through social media. And I think it's just really being honest about where we're spending our time. And for me, I feel that if I spend an hour a day on personal growth, it'll not only make me more productive, but it will also force me to be more intentional with my time that I'm working on with my business, and my blog, and then the time I'm spending with Steve. And I'm just choosing to make the time. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you can relate to anything I've shared. I'm glad to be chatting about this stuff and just sharing what I'm currently working on. I'm definitely not perfect. I still struggle with stuff. If you notice me not speaking about something that I always speak about on my blog, it could be because with the money stuff, I just wasn't sure what I was doing in my own life, and I definitely didn't want to be giving any advice when I felt like I wasn't following that advice. And I definitely feel I should have shared my experience, but I didn't really know how to. But I'm going to be sharing that stuff. It's something I want to share. So yeah, but sometimes I just won't be interested in a topic. So it's not always because I'm hiding something or really struggling with it. I usually do talk about what I'm struggling with, but sometimes with that's really the only thing I can think of that I've been oh, I don't want to talk about that at the moment. Or not even, I don't think I even consciously did it. I was I just don't know what I would say, because I feel insincere if I'm not taking the advice I'm giving or sharing an experience that, do you know what I mean? I just want to be real. Anyway, this one's gone quite long today, but I always love watching long videos and podcasts and all of that. So you might as well. But yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.